One of the questions I'm quite often asked is why we need to use 3 ovens when we're developing instructions for oven products. So for lasagnas, why do we use gas, electric and fan? Why can't you just put fan oven instructions on there, because that's what most people have got? The answer is quite complicated, and it's down to the way the ovens work. Although most people do have fan ovens, that's right. So I'm guessing here maybe 75–80% of the population own those. There are just standard electric ovens with no fan, and there are also gas ovens out there too, which people use. The way that they operate is different. So an electric oven usually has an element top and bottom or side to side to generate the heat. Fan-assisted oven uses an electric element behind the back of the oven usually, and then blows that hot air using a fan throughout the oven, and relies on high airflow rates to give you a better heating of the product. Gas ovens, again, completely different. It's usually a gas flame only at the back of the oven on the bottom. That generates heat, rolls up to the top of the oven, around the front, and then to the back again. So 3 kind of different methods of generating the heat within the oven. The environment in the oven is different for the 3 oven types too. So gas ovens generate high humidity levels. Electric ovens without the fan, you have kind of a hot radiant surface at the top and bottom or side to side. And then the fan oven just relies on high airflow of hot air. How does that impact on the cooking of the products? It's very often quoted that we use 20 degrees less for a fan-assisted oven. So if you're going to put your lasagna in the oven at 200 degrees for an electric oven, gas mark 6 for gas ovens, then we may use 180 degrees for fan ovens. So why is that? Because the fan is blowing high speed hot air, its heat transfer to your product is improved. So for many products that are open, and that's an important term, so they're not completely enclosed with just pierced films. So again, with a lasagna, it might be with the lidding film completely removed. Then usually works about that. So 20 degrees less in a fan oven will give you the same heating time to hit your 70 degrees minimum temperature as gas mark 6, which is 200, and 200 in the electric oven. The problem comes down to is when people start to use pierced products. So you don't have direct transfer of that fan, of that high flowing air from the fan and fan-assisted ovens onto the product. That then means it's heating the outside of the container, which has then got to transfer slowly through the container into the product. And there's air spaces which will act as insulation in there too. For those kind of products, it's very normal to use about the same temperature as you would do for electric ovens. So if it's an enclosed space without areas where the fan can blow the air onto the product, it's the same temperature as the electric oven, which would be, for this case, 200 degrees. We quite often see that the electric ovens and fan ovens at their correct temperature settings will be quicker to cook products than gas. So gas ovens take a little bit longer often. So that's the worst case. So for developing instructions, it's quite important to use gas ovens. And the reason for that is the way that the airflow works around a gas oven. So if you put a product in a gas oven, especially if it's on a baking tray, or it's a large product, maybe a large flat pizza, for example, then it can block the airflow. So the little flame at the back of the oven, which is generating the heat, can't get enough heat to the top of the product because the heat is just circulating around underneath the product. So that can increase the cook time. And an extreme example actually is a large family type pizza, which almost fills the oven side to side. In a fan oven, you may have a 10-minute cook time, electric oven, maybe a 10-minute cook time. And we've done trials in gas ovens where it's taken in excess of 20 minutes, double the cook time. And that's because it simply blocks the hot air from coming up over the top of the product. The other differences that we can see between ovens is where the temperatures change inside the oven in the location. So it's always recommended when you're developing a cooking instruction for ovens that you use the center of the oven. That's because that's where they're calibrated. So we know that 200 degrees calibrated oven, whether it's calibrated by yourselves or by an external body, will be the correct temperature. In a fan oven, if you go from the bottom shelf to the top shelf, you might end up with just a 5 or 10 degree difference. In an electric oven, you might end up with a 10, maybe 20 degree difference. But in a gas oven, from the bottom shelf to the top shelf, you could be looking at over 100 degrees. So a gas oven set at 200, which is correct in the center, where you're going to put your product, If you put the product in the top, it might be 300 degrees. You put it in the bottom of the oven, it might be 100 degrees. So if you take a product and you put it in the center and the ovens are all calibrated correctly at your 200 or 180 for the fan, you would hope the cooking times are similar, maybe a minute or two longer for the gas oven. If you take that same product and put it in the top of the oven, the gas oven will completely burn it to a crisp within that time period. It'll be much faster heating because it's much higher temperatures at the top of the oven. Whilst the electric oven will be a little bit behind that, and then the fan oven will take longer still because it's cooler at the top of the oven. So where you put the product in the oven is really important. So hopefully that just gives kind of a bit of a background and reasons to why it's really important to use all three oven types, and not just to use one oven and assume that you can put instructions on the back of the pack referring to the other two oven types. If you haven't tested all three oven types, you can't put those instructions on the back pack. A lot of companies we find don't actually own gas ovens. It's quite hard to get them installed in working premises. So if you don't have domestic gas, electric and fan ovens, or you just like Camden to help you with your cooking instructions, then please give me a call. We've got 12 ovens installed, gas, electric and fan, domestic oven types, so we can carry out instructions for you. Give me a call. Thank you.